Hey, it's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. It's your first to know update for the month of August. Here we are staring back at July's data, and well, we're looking into a market where downward pressures on sales price are a reality, right? Finally, we're getting into a point where, the median looks pretty stable, but across Boulder County, we really have seen some slippage. Now we're 6.6% below where we were this time last year. And if you look at where we've been over the course of the last few years, and we're right back around the 2023 numbers, we're slightly ahead of the 2022 numbers for average sales price. It's been bouncing around a little bit, but there's a lot more that kind of leads into this. So take a look at this. The attached market, that condo townhouse market, is really struggling. Now, we've been talking about the struggles and we just haven't really seen it come out in the data. And finally, over the last couple of months, you're really starting to see the change. We're down 15% in the average sales price for Boulder County. The median's down 13%. Now, don't get too upset with those numbers yet, because the average price per square foot doesn't quite lead us to the same consensus. We're down 8% average price per square foot in the condo townhouse market. But look at the single family home market, only slightly off of where it was last year by 2.2%. So still floating around that $400 a square foot mark. I think this really kind of speaks to more stability in Boulder County from the detached. The attached side, we're having so many things stacked against that market. It really is problematic. Now, take a look at this. We've got all kinds of inventory, 1,600 units on the market. It's 20% more than it was this time last year, which with the added listing demand or the seller appetite increase, it really has not been that much of a surprise. Now, we did slow down to basically right where we were a year ago, but still 566 new listings coming to market is very different than the 400 we put under contract. What's exciting about the 400 number is that's 13.4% more than we saw this time last year. So we have seen a bump in buyer activity, right? And with stable interest rates and increased seller supply, all that can say is, buyers are entering the marketplace because prices are compressing, because it's more favorable for the buyers to be out there. And when that happens, it's good for buyers, right? And so more buyers are participating. We have 4.5 months of inventory right now, which really is pushing us into that buyer favorite market. I would argue, even though NAR says 4 to 6 months is a balanced market nationally, locally, we don't experience the same thing. So 4.5 months of inventory, to me, definitely from what we're seeing with concessions and everything else, leads me to believe that this is a buyer's market. And that really has been very relevant when you look at the pending sales. Here's the what it feels like, right? The market activity slide. It's 45 days to go under contract. That's 40% more than this time last year. There's so much more inventory. It's taking longer to go under contract. It used to take a month to go under contract. Now it's taking a month and a half to go under contract. That's a big swing in a 1-year mark. So keep your eyes on this, and it's going to trend up the rest of the year. You can see what our normal trends are. The fastest part of the year is usually in June. So we're past that point. You're going to start seeing days in MLS really start stacking up. Those close to list prices, though, 97.5% is starting to get a little alarming from my perspective, because this is one of those things where it doesn't include concessions. It doesn't include price drops. Buyers are getting more and more aggressive about asking for what they want or what they think a property is worth, or just looking for a deal. And sellers are experiencing that, right? 0.8% less than where it was last year is a lot. I mean, we're 1% lower than we were. That's $10,000 on $1 million homes, just to put it in a little bit of perspective. Lastly, showing traffic is super important to pay attention to, because this is what's future casting what's going to happen, right? It's taking 12.6 showings to go under contract. Nothing to be concerned about. It's very similar to what we've experienced most of the year. Even though it is 20% above this time last year, it's still very similar to what we've seen all year long and kind of where we've been in this market, right? Now, if you look at showings per listing, this is the one that everybody has been hemming and hawing about, because they're very concerned that you're only getting about one showing a week. Well, the good news is, for the first time all year, you should be getting more showings per listing than you were this time last year. So we are up in active showings. So buyers are actually more active. We always feel like things slow down a little bit in July, and they usually do compared to the early summer or the spring market. But we definitely have been seeing buyer participation stay fairly steady. And, that's kind of what we usually see out of showing traffic. But it is great to see that showing traffic has increased. So you want a dose of optimism. That's your dose of optimism. Buyers are participating more than they were a year ago. largely due to the fact that they can go get a better deal on property, and there's more to look at, so they can actually find what they want. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have any other questions, concerns, reach out to me. If you need other data, my name's Anthony at Land Title. See you next time.